Good evening. I'm Jim Jones of the Duncanville Nature Conservancy. For brevity and clarity, I will read. No teleprompter for me, no photographic memory. We are the Friends of the Charles F. Ladd Nature Preserve, originally known as the Ladd Advocates. The Duncanville Nature Conservancy is a nonprofit, nonpartisan 501c3 all-volunteer organization focused on the support of the Charles F. Ladd Nature Preserve. Conservation, protection of natural resources, the future of undeveloped green spaces, beautification, education, and community engagement, including the encouragement of informed and active participation in government. The Conservancy does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. Also, as a reminder, this forum is being recorded. Additionally, Happy Earth Day. It's April 22nd. It's always April 22nd. Earth Day isn't just to celebrate our wonderful and beautiful orb and its glory, but to emphasize protecting the environment and demonstrating the importance of planetary health. In a big way, in our little town, Duncanville has helped the planet. The Ladd Preserve, as well as the Native Landscape Ordinance, is something we can all celebrate, helping to protect terrestrial flora and fauna in inland water areas. Our vision is to create a community of informed and engaged stewards who share a deep appreciation for the natural world and are committed to protecting it for generations to come. We believe in continuously seeking out new and innovative ways to promote conservation, education, and community engagement. With that in mind, today we are convening and sponsoring an organized forum for the multiple candidates to engage in question and answers regarding conservation and civic engagement in our community. This forum is part of an ongoing education efforts to help voters make informed decisions at upcoming elections. We hope that over the course of this program, you will learn more about the candidates and what they hope to do for Duncanville. I will now turn the meeting over to our moderator, Sarah Macias. But first, a bit about Sarah. Sarah Macias is a commissioner on the Duncanville Arts Commission. Sarah has come with over a decade of broadcast journalism experience. She was in the news business for 8 years with 8 different job titles, including producer, editor, reporter, and anchor. Sarah was the senior reporter of Fox 44 in Waco before leaving the business in 2018. Currently, Sarah is a podcast producer and videographer. She is also the owner of Macias Media, a business started in 2023 with a focus on producing video content for small business. Sarah?
Well, thank you, Jim, for the introduction. I also want to thank the Duncanville Nature Conservancy for inviting me. It's an honor to host this forum and to be a part of changing the culture and attitude in Duncanville when it comes to environmentalism. Before we begin, let's briefly review the format and rules. There will be 3 separate Q&A sessions, one for the candidates in each district race and one for the mayoral race. The questions are focused primarily on environmental issues, conservation, habitat preservation, and so on. The questions were written primarily by the Duncanville Nature Conservancy, with some questions having been submitted by audience members during event registration. For each session, each candidate will be asked the same questions. The candidate whose name appears first in the alphabetical order will answer first. Then candidates will alternate turns for who answers first. Candidates will be allowed roughly 2 minutes maximum to answer each question. Candidates are required to be courteous and respectful of one another, to refrain from personal attacks and abrasive language. And if they exceeded the time limit, are subject to muting by the meeting host. Only if time allows will rebuttals be permitted in the district races. Mayoral candidates will be allowed brief rebuttals only after they have raised their hand and been called on by the moderator. If anyone in the audience has further questions for the candidates or would like to contact them directly, their contact information will be provided in the chat during their session. With that being said, I would like to welcome the first candidates for Duncanville City Council District 5, Derwin Broughton, Stephanie Champagne, and Kyle Pennebaker. We will begin with 2-minute opening statements, starting with Mr. Broughton.
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to thank the Conservancy for hosting this forum this evening, and thank you all for being here. I am Darwin Broughton, a candidate for Duncanville City Council District 5. It's a pleasure being here with you this afternoon. I am a 16-year resident of Duncanville. I live in the Thoroughbred Hills community with my wife and my 2 kids. I have been a dedicated community advocate for the duration of my entire life. Been committed to Duncanville, have served on the as vice president of Duncanville Economic Development Corporation, on the Comprehensive Master Planning Committee. And even prior to that, we lived in Little Elm, Texas for 7 years. And while in Little Elm, I was I was chair of the Board of Adjustments and several other committees there, and actually chaired their first ever bond election in Little Elm. Again, I love our community. I love what we're doing here, and just want to continue to work for you to continue to advance the work here in the city of Duncanville. Thank you. And once again, my name is Darwin Broughton.
Thank you, Mr. Broughton. Ms. Champagne?
Hello. Hello, I'm Stephanie Champagne. My background, I grew up in Southwest Kansas, which means prairies, tumbleweeds, and your car door frozen in the winter. I moved to the Texas area after graduation from college, which means a very long time ago. I was struck by the beauty in Duncanville because you guys have abundance of trees and squirrels and lizards. And I still love the squirrels, but I think I would like them better if they stopped chewing on my house. So if anyone has any tips about that, I appreciate it. And I am an attorney, and I am a former Montessori mom, which means from a young age, I was training my daughter to appreciate nature. If anyone is familiar with Montessori children, they think of leaves, sticks, and rocks as art. So I am teaching her to be a great steward because she appreciates her surroundings. And I am concerned about our children as far as educating them about nature so they can appreciate it and be great environmental stewards. And the community, I love that we have 17 parks here in Duncanville, and I think there's great for social gathering. And as far as commerce, I think Duncanville is doing a great job as far as attracting businesses and communities, as far as beautifying our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne. Mr. Pennebaker?
All right, can you see me, first of all?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, all right, I can't see a feedback here. Kyle Pennebaker, I grew up here. Young age, we ran the creeks here, we rode our bikes all over town. So what y'all are doing is, in the bigger picture, I can so appreciate it for our future generations, our kids. The introduction for me into politics in Duncanville began probably about 20 years ago with the Main Street redevelopment plan. We saw that come off very poorly. It was a great plan. It had great ideas as far as developing Main Street, but the execution wasn't there. We couldn't make it happen. We got a little bit out of it, but it just didn't launch the way they're hoping for it to. When I began to get really involved in Duncanville was with the Duncanville Fieldhouse, which used to be the Stars Center. My son was playing soccer there, or hockey there, and the Bob Knight facility was, Bob Knight group was going to come in and take it over. And I started fighting, very publicly to save the Stars Center. I reached out to a lot of candidates, or a lot of council members at the time, city manager, spoke with them, and that was some good conversations. I learned more about the finances of things. And it was that point that I realized that we really needed to go with turning it into a basketball facility. The finances shown to be one of the council members what did that to me. And that's the realization was my own personal feelings aren't going to come into play with what's better for the city. One of my council member, I had a conversation with around this, and we aligned on wanting the hockey facility to stay there, but their means to the end was not right. They had different motives, divisive. And I knew at that time that we needed to start fighting for what's right in Duncanville. I've been doing this for a long time, and some people have asked me for a while, jump in and run, and I'm here today to be an advocate for District 5 and getting the best, for my district that I can. I've been married to my wife. We raised our kids here. We have friends that have property on the creek beds. I have one friend that has a 700 foot stretch of frontage on the Hornet branch of the creek. And we do cleanups there, and we really enjoy the nature of Duncanville and staying here. When we get out, we go to friends' houses and enjoy the outdoors with them in Duncanville. Outside of that, we like to camp and be on the lake, and that's what I'm going to tell you about me and my.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pennebaker. So let's begin with our questions. As a reminder to all candidates, you have 2 minutes to respond to all questions. Mr. Broughton, you will be first. The mission statement of the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board is as follows: to empower individuals in Duncanville through education, to take responsibility for enhancing their community environment. What initiatives or programming would you propose to further advance the goal of developing and enhancing the beauty of the natural environment throughout the city? We can't hear you, Mr. Broughton.
Sorry, didn't have the ability to unmute myself. And I would actually request that my time be reclaimed because I just was unmuted. So I would like my full 2 minutes, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And so I think, and one of the things I do know is that, Duncanville is one of the most beautiful parts of North Texas. And it's our greatest asset with our rolling hills, our topography, our people. These are our assets, and we have to continue to play up on those. And when we look at it as far as keeping Duncanville beautiful, it starts with our people, it starts with our homes, it starts with our neighborhoods, and it goes out to our commercial centers, but also just a great asset we have in our parks and our open spaces as well. When the LAD property was brought in as a service, I think that was one of the greatest things that we probably could have done as a city. There's a lot of opportunity there. I had the great fortune, and if you don't know me, but I am a commercial architect. I have practiced architecture across the United States, across the state of Texas, and I've seen some great things and great outcomes. I have a privilege right now working with the Trust for Public Land and with the City of Dallas on the Woody Grant Park, which 5 Mile Creek runs straight through it at the intersection of Loop 12 and Redbird in Dallas. And I can see some great things there, but I see even greater things here in Duncanville. And through this asset that we have, this wonderful place we call the LAD property, to have something that's unique and different for the particular area and for the region, that can be a draw not only for our citizens, but for those around us. And so there are definitely some things that I would like to do, but most importantly, we have to remember is that this has to be planned for and around the residents of Duncanville. So we got to find and hear those unique voices of Duncanville, and the programs, the assets that will be in that park have to be provided by and under the direction of what the citizens desire to have there. And so that's the way how I would approach, this particular piece of keeping Duncanville beautiful and utilizing the assets that we have here in the city. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. Ms. Champagne?
As far as keeping Duncanville beautiful, I think the present city commission is they're doing a great job as far as if you see like on 20 where they've built the plants and the shrubs by 20 and Duncanville Main Road, and also on 67 with the planting there and the new Duncanville sign. So, and I also love on Main Street how they have during the holidays the Christmas trees and things of that nature. So I think Duncanville is on the right track as far as making the city beautiful and having a vision for it. And as far as specific things, for example, in in my district, in District 5. And Chris Paris Park, I think that's a beautiful space. I think something we can do, for example, to make that space better is there's a play area, and if we can make some kind of bridge to go to, there's like a lone picnic table. So when I was visiting the park, there was a mom there who was playing with her child, but she didn't realize right off that she could go down to all that open space. So I think if we just made a beautiful bridge to connect the areas better, and that would be not destroying the natural beauty there, because there's already a cement area there, and perhaps maybe throwing more picnic tables there. But I think that's a beautiful area, and that's one of my ideas. And also, I love the fact that we have the Charles Lab property. I think there was a lot of potential there, to make it a really nice attraction for Duncanville. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne. Mr. Pennebaker?
Yes, I think the most important thing that we can do is get the community engaged. We want to see the city do a lot of things, but getting the community engaged in this group is proof of what grassroots can do and the change that can be affected by the community getting together. So the KDB board has been doing some wonderful things. They brought in the what was it, the preservation, the native landscaping ordinance. That's a good thing. They need help, and they have a program that's available. We can all participate in it. It's the Adopt a Park program. If we can get the outreach going to the community and get the community engaged in this, we actually, as a family, had adopted Chris Paris Park a few years, 10 years ago. And we weren't able to maintain it. We weren't able to get the help of the people coming out there 4 times a year to do it. Very few of our parks right now have that support from the community, and we have several that could use our help. So building on that and getting the community engaged, I think, is a priority. Chris Paris specifically, Ms. Champagne mentioned it, it's a wonderful park, and there's some things we can do to help with it. Unfortunately, at nighttime, some kids get out there on motorcycles and 4-wheelers, and they kind of run around and play in the park. We can set up some barriers to preserve that property a little bit better. That would be my priority, is try to community engagement. We've liked that in our district for years and years and years, and our district feels detached from the rest of Duncanville. So that's where I would start, is getting the community engaged.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pennebaker. This next question, Ms. Champagne will answer first. Recently, residents living on and adjacent to Cavan Road near Cocker Hill band together to speak in opposition to high-density housing on 8 acres of undeveloped property in the neighborhood. The residents were concerned about development that would be out of character with the neighborhood, a potential reduction in property values, and can cause increased traffic. As a district representative, how would you respond to a situation in which there was an opportunity for development and increased tax revenue on one hand, but local residents who were in strong opposition to that development on the other? Ms. Champagne?
Yes, I appreciate, first of all, I will be representing my district, District 5, as well as the Water Duncanville area. So to address those concerns, I would maybe propose, if, as far as the revenue is concerned in building housing, Duncanville has a lot of areas that we can revitalize. There's a lot of old buildings, and I would maybe propose going there first, because that way we would get the housing and the economic advantage, but still preserving what makes Duncanville beautiful. Duncanville is special. It is known for our trees and the beauty, And this way it would preserve why people want to move here in those communities and still attract. We would be attracting people here as well as preserving our community. And then we could be providing housing for in the spaces that we already have. And we wouldn't be losing any green spaces there. So I would ask people to think of alternatives instead of taking away green spaces and listening to the communities that will be impacted, and maybe look at something else that we have that we can reuse and make even better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne. Mr. Pennebaker?
Yes, I actually spoke with the residents on Caven and spoke with their block leader. We had a meeting out there with that group, and I understand the situation. I think anything that we do when it affects citizens, we've got to defer to what their desires are. I don't want to approve something or be in a position where I'm affecting a neighborhood that doesn't want something. It goes with, you know, anything business wise. We've got to let them know what's happening to them, what's happening next to them. We've got to get their input, and that goes back to the engagement, is educating the people that are being impacted, listening to them, and following their lead on what they want to see. 100%. And that goes with anywhere in Duncanville. I have some very strong opinions on property rights and protecting their values and their rights around that. And there's some things in code that we need to look at where people's properties are impacted by the way the code is written. We're almost built out. There's very few properties left. And Lad was one of the ones that developers were looking at. And there's still a possibility if something happened over there on 7.6 acres. I don't want that to happen. I want to make sure everything we can, as far as the natural beauty of Duncanville, we can preserve and build up, redevelop other things, other areas. We have some tremendous corridors that we can work off of where we have established commercial. And, you know, back to the property owners, we need to protect them.
Thank you, Mr. Pennebaker. Mr. Broughton?
Yes, ma'am. I want to look at this a little bit differently, and I want to talk about the different stages here. So, of course, every piece of property has a land use that has a zoning associated with it. And so the first thing is to examine is whether or not the proposed use is allowable on that piece of property. If that proposed use isn't allowed on that piece of property without a zoning change, and if the residents aren't in favor of it, then that makes it a real easy decision to make moving forward. However, if it is allowable use, and there is a significant amount of community opposition to that particular development, then, you know, as a representative of the city of Duncanville, a representative of the residents, we have a right to empower those citizens to bring their voices to the table and to express those pieces or those points of view to maybe alter either the developer's point as far as how he wants to, or he or she decides to develop a piece of property, or to alter the city council or the planning committee as far as how they approach that as well. And so it's all about empowering the citizens to have their voices heard in regard to their neighboring properties, but we also have to get them actively engaged in the process. Now, people have to understand within our city that there's a process. And we have a comprehensive master plan, we have planning and zoning that goes in place, and sometimes we really want to try to get ahead of these things years in advance. And so if there's an adjacent use to your property or somewhere in your neighborhood that's of an undesirable intent, then we have to empower our citizens to get ahead of the game, to get involved in boards and commissions, and be able to inform these processes well in advance. And so it doesn't get to a contentious point to where we're going against something that may be allowed by right, but may not be the best thing for the community. Let's get ahead of it. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Mr. Broughton. This next question will go to Mr. Pennebaker first. The city of Duncanville has the official recognition of a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Foundation for, among other reasons, its maintenance and enforcement of a tree ordinance. There are neighborhoods in District 5 where it looks and feels like you are entering a forest. Lately, District 5 has had increasing issues with commercial and residential land developers cutting down and removing trees protected by the city ordinance. What initiatives would you take to ensure District 5 maintains its natural aesthetics and that the protected tree population is not compromised by development? Mr. Pennebaker?
Yes, we've had some of that stuff happen over here, and a lot of times someone will buy a piece of property, residential lot over here, and they will come in unknowing to anyone that's over here and just start cutting down trees. It's hard to stop that, just like it is, hard to stop anything that someone wants to do and they don't have to tell anybody. And in this case, they have to tell someone. They have to reach out to the city. What we need to be able to do is get our city where it's more alert and more aware of these things, where someone calls in and we have a responsiveness from the city to react to these things. A tree can be cut down in minutes. And once someone makes that call, there might be, an hour, 2-3 hours before the city gets out to the site to do something about it, to stop it. To prevent something like that, or to reduce it, it comes back to community and people calling in for one thing and letting us know when it's happening. When people are proposing development, it needs to be something that they have to be aware of and made aware of by the city when they're applying for building permits. Educating them. That's a hard thing to get ahead of. Letting people know, how do you do that? I guess the best way, especially in the residential areas, and that's what we've had over here with some of the residential lots, is educate the buyer of the property. Let them know you can't do this, and set significant fines that's going to prevent them, for not taking that risk.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Broughton, you're next.
It's definitely something that we should be looking into. My family, we relocated to Duncanville, and specifically to this neighborhood, because of the trees and the rolling topography, as I mentioned. And I'm just a country boy from South Carolina. I grew up on a farm, and so I have a connectivity to nature. What we've seen, or what I've seen in other cities, is a couple of things. First of all, we can have a tree mitigation ordinance that basically, when you cut down a tree, you have to basically replace that tree caliper inch by caliper inch somewhere else. If the property isn't large enough to do it, then you could basically pay into a reforestation fund. That reforestation fund will allow you to plant trees elsewhere in the city. For example, trees could be planted on the land property. So this investment is made in one community, is put somewhere else within our community to reforest our overall city. One of the things we also should probably look into as a city is that, do we have a city arborist or city arborist on contract? And so before a tree is cut down within a neighborhood, what is the health of that tree? Can that tree be treated in order to preserve it? And it kind of gives us a resource for our citizens to really look at that. Before, what we did is a couple of trees were somewhat diseased in our neighborhood. And so we called the City Parks Department, and there was a person on staff that came on and consulted with us before we actually decided to remove those trees. Having those resources on staff, or those resources available to our citizens, will help to protect our forest type environment here in Duncanville. And so there are a number of things, but I think really looking at, first of all, tree mitigation requirements, both on the residential and the commercial side, and also looking at possibly having a city arborist that can provide a resource to our citizens in our neighborhoods for our forest type environments here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Champagne?
I think we can start with the framework we already have. We have codes and ordinances to deal with this issue. So I would look and see how we're enforcing those. So now also make sure that before, at the front end of the process, if a developer or a residents, a person is buying property, they're aware of what they're allowed to do in as far as what the trees are concerned, and why the character of Duncanville. And I would also point to the tree replacement policy we have. There's certain trees that if you cut them down, you have to replace those. And I would also look at the consequences if someone should go against the ordinances. So either fines or or something of that nature. So, and I think a lot of times the deterrence is, unfortunately money. So if there are healthy fines as far as dealing with someone who's cutting down trees that aren't authorized, I think that will make a difference. And of course, the community has to inform people when they see these things happening, because it is our community and we want to keep it beautiful.
Thank you. And that was our final question for the District 5 candidates. We will now hear the candidates' closing statements, starting with Ms. Champagne.
Okay. As far as why you should vote for me, you should vote for me because I listen. I have been an attorney for over 10 years. So what does that mean to you besides I have more degrees than a thermometer? It means that I can advocate for your causes, and I do care and I do listen. I decided to be an attorney because I love to learn. And I know there's a lot to learn in this position, and I'm willing to do that. And I think you should vote for me also because I have a fresh viewpoint on things on how to preserve Duncanville, and I'm open to listen to you. So thank you, and please get out and support me.
Mr. Pennebaker?
Yes, so I've been engaged in doing things in Duncanville and advocating for this city and this community for about 20 years. I was at the front of a grassroots movement to get in bike lanes in Duncanville and was holding community meetings, running petitions, and I got the first, I didn't, but I was very much in the making something happen and getting first bike lane in Duncanville downhill city. I would like to see a lot of things as far as the beautification. With the beautification, I'd like to get the netting on the sewers so that we can prevent the trash from going to the sewers. The permeable surfaces for our driveways. That's something I think we really need. And in District 5, it's huge. Our part of District 5 where we live, there's a lot of gravel driveways, a lot of concrete driveways. But if you go to make an improvement, the city doesn't want you putting in more gravel. They want you putting in hard surfaces. That's a problem. And then on the other side, in the Fair Meadows area, they have significant parking issues over there. It's difficult and costly to put in hard surfaces, more environmentally friendly if we go in with more permeable surfaces over there. So I think we need to look at that. I've reached out to 500 people in my district. I have touched 500 people. I'm someone that you can talk to, you can connect with, and that will represent the entire District 5. And I just know that if you vote for me, you will have good representation and a great advocate.
Mr. Broughton? Mr. Broughton? Oh. Can we unmute him?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, there
We
you
don't have control of our audio.
No worries, no worries.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for being here this afternoon, taking time out of your valuable schedules to hear from each of us. First and foremost, I'm a proven civic leader. I have been actively engaged not only in this community, but in communities across Texas and across the U.S. I am a recognized citizen architect. I was recognized on the national stage for my work within communities. I am a dedicated community advocate. I have advocated for the voices of the silent throughout nations, throughout communities in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I'm always looking for the whispers in the room, those that aren't heard, those that are silenced, those that are underserved. And we want to bring those voices to the forefront to be able to provide the most robust and resilient community that we can provide. I am a visionary leader. I see what Duncanville can be in the years to come, and I hope to bring that to fruition with everyone on this particular call and those out in our community and abroad. And of course, I am a catalyst for change, and sometimes people get scared when they hear the word change. But we are at a pivotal moment in our community in which we can either continue to advance towards the future or continue to recede into the past in which we've come from. And there's great things that we've seen in the past. But this is an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves as a city, and you have to have the correct leadership, the right type of leaders in place in order to move forward. And so this evening, I'm asking for your support, I'm asking for your vote, and I'm asking for our continued effort to work collaboratively together to make Duncanville a better place. Thank you. My name is Derwin Broughton, and I'm a candidate for Duncanville City Council, District 5.
Thank you, Mr. Broughton, Ms. Champagne, and Mr. Pennebaker. We wish you all the best of luck during this election. Moving on, the District 2 race, where we will be hearing from Nancy Gutierrez and the incumbent, Don McBurnett. Ms. Gutierrez, your opening statement, please. You have 2 minutes. Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. I can't see the timer. I'm not able to see a timer.
You have roughly about 2 minutes. I can.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Nancy Gutierrez, candidate for District 2. I'm thrilled to be here today. Thank you for the Conservancy for having this forum. As a homeschool mom, I was always had my children's education on my shoulders, and taking care of the planet, science, being good stewards of what we're blessed with. That was something that has always been at the core of what I've taught my children, going places, learning from outdoors. So first and foremost, I believe that engaging our constituents and educating them, especially the younger generation when it comes to environmental sustainability. Just a quick story. I'm sorry, I can't see my time. You know, the reason I decided to run was because at the beginning of 2022, someone came to my door, showed me a flyer of this beautiful property I'd never seen before, went to go see it with my family, explored it, fell in love with the landscape, and I found out how truly disengaged I was. So I don't want anyone else to be that way. And because I was so disengaged, I decided to fully go in, fill out the application, and run for city council. And that was my journey. I never looked back. So that's my personal connection to this which was previously a property, now a preserve. And I'm a church, community church leader through Arise Church. I'm a mother. I'm a wife, nonprofit in the nonprofit sector. And my life consists of serving others.
Thank you. Mr. McBurnett, your opening statement, please. Mr. McBurnett, are you there for your opening statement? There you go.
All right. All right. Hello, my name's Don McBurnett, and I want to thank the Duncanville Nature Conservancy for having a forum and also for the candidates being here as well. I am the District 2 incumbent. I appreciate the values that this group brings to Duncanville and what they're looking for in terms of beautification and existing for generations. It's an effort that I'm supportive of. I've been a council member for 6 years. I've had leadership in this area, and also if you look at Keep Duncanville Beautiful, it's mostly made up of District 2 people, and this initiative is something that I helped with getting involved in and starting. So I want to thank you again, and I also want to thank you for voting for me.
Thank you. The first question is for Ms. Gutierrez. Last year, as a result of a collaborative effort between the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board, the Parks Department, the Duncanville Nature Conservancy, and citizen and student volunteers, a native prairie restoration was started at Lakeside Park. How can the city ensure the future success of this project? Would you support additional prairie restoration projects throughout the city? And if so, where?
Yeah, I know Lakeside is where that project is going on, and I learned about it going to one of the Keep Duncanville Beautiful meetings, and I was excited to hear that that's happening at Lakeside. I'm a walk away from Lakeside, and it's just another way to educate and teach the younger generation and other citizens about it. We've got to let people know that that is going on. A lot of people are not engaged. So I would make sure that the people that I've gone to door and all of the constituents are well informed of these projects that are going on, and I would fully support it. The education factor in there is so important, and it is also very important for our environment. So I would fully support it, and in other parts of the city as well.
Thank you. Mr. McBurnett?
Thank you. Could you repeat the question again, please?
Of course. How can the city ensure the future success of this project? Would you support additional prairie restoration projects throughout the city? And if so, where?
Thank you. And yes, I would be supportive of this. Lakeside in that area, that area wasn't really being used and wasn't being done, and it brought forward, and we brought this thing forward. I was actually involved in the project as well, with the planting and the dirt and the seeding and that kind of line. And you know, there's a whole area there that can be done, but it can be done in other places as well. We don't have a whole big green space, but you do have the LAD property where things could potentially be done there as well.
Thank you. The next question will go to Mr. McBurnett first. Again, the Lakeside Prairie Project involved the assistance of citizen and student volunteers. As a district representative, what efforts would you make to promote volunteerism and encourage citizen engagement?
Well, I mean, it's real easy. I mean, it's advertised extremely well. This group's done it. I've asked people to join it, and so it's there. So it's just a matter of getting the advertising out there. Keep Duncanville Beautiful's done an excellent job on doing it. So the information's out there. And it's just trying to get the volunteers. The high school people have volunteered as well.
Thank you. Ms. Gutierrez?
Okay, there we go. Yes, the information is out there, but yet again, our citizens are busy human beings. I believe that like I said, fully support it. So if I support it, I'm going to find every avenue to make sure that the constituents are getting this information. That means, you know, we are pastors of a church. I would open up our church to make sure that we make people aware of, have not just once a year, have, a workshop, not them just coming to online to see, oh, there's this, no, actually going to them and saying, reaching them through TikTok, reaching them through any social media you can think of, especially at their age that the young people are watching through other avenues. How are they getting their information? How are we reaching them? I want to make sure that at every capacity, workshops, seminars, but being intentional about scheduling these things, working together with the other commissions to try to make this possible, making it not just once a year, but ample times where people, because not everybody can just, and also making it available through like a Facebook Live, because so many people work during the day and are even busier at night. So are we making it available through digitally so that they can tune in whenever, YouTube or whatever. So just making it, casting it a little bit further and working a little bit harder to engage not just our district, but the whole Duncanville. I think it's possible. And I'm up to the challenge.
Thank you. Mr. McBurnett, this question is for you first. District 2 has one of the oldest parks in the city, Lions Park, formerly known as Southside Park. The park is in need of many improvements and updates and has even been proposed to build pickleball courts there. What improvements or additional amenities would you propose or support at Lions Park?
Thank you for that question. I'm a big proponent of Lions Park. I am a Lions Club member first and foremost. We do park cleanups out there quarterly, but the things that need to happen out there, and there's some areas there that I'm glad that you brought that up, because there's areas there that we could actually do some native plantings and stuff as well. I've had occasions recently. Well, in fact, I'm the one that got the parking lot situated better because we had people in there that were doing donuts and all sorts of things like that. So we've got that where it's better and that stuff. However, in Lions Park, it's a beautiful area. There's more beautification that can be done. And it could be plantings, and that's what I would suggest is plantings and maybe even some blackland prairie or whatever that goes in that area, and kind of transforming that park into have a different vision for that park. You're going to still have baseball out there and other little events.
Okay. Ms. Gutierrez?
Okay, yeah, Lions Park. It's kind of like this little gem right there in the corner, just this beautiful little treasure that is there. And especially when it rains so much, just the tranquility of just being there, sitting there, having your lunch. It's a beautiful park. Of course, I think that, I'm not an expert in this, but I know that there's a creek there. So, the major erosion, I'm sure that can happen throughout the years. I think that needs to be kind of looked at and make sure that we're careful in that manner. But, I would hope to see more like flowers and native plants as well there. And I don't know, whenever I've visited, I don't see a lot of people go, not that I go all the time, but I'm wondering, are we reaching out to our neighbors and maybe even doing events there to make it more known, and create even events out there to where we can get people to get out there and get more active. But it's a beautiful park. I think it's in a beautiful area, and we need to get more of our people more people out there from Duncanville to go frequent it, because it's beautiful.
Ms. Gutierrez, this next question is for you first. Aside from baseball games, few events are held at Lions Park. What events or activities would you propose or support that would attract more visitors to the park and increase usage?
I believe that we should really seek out a lot of the homeschool groups because, like I said, I was a homeschool mom, and we search for these things to go and take our kids to get samples of this, and that, and the other, and study it under a microscope. There's so much to get into there, little hiking trails, hiking groups, and things like that. I think we can just initiate all those groups to get started in that area. It's such a beautiful area to explore. And so definitely getting the youth and children programming going there and using it more often, through the library, getting groups going. Even, myself, I would love, to make sure that I hold meetings out there with, having the district come out and meet me there. Let's have picnics and lunch, just making it known a little more, which means putting it on the map.
Mr. McBurnett?
Thank you. Lions Park is a wonderful park, and there's little things you could do out there. You could even, you could even have a little nature fest out there if you'd like to. There's things too, you could have music to go along with it, but there's things that you could help do that's going to show off or showcase what it is out there. There's an open space where the swimming pool used to be, and that's an area that you could do a lot of little staging, but it leaves you the opportunity to go through. It is something that you can really make into a nice place and have some nice little events.
Thank you. Okay, we're coming up on our final couple of questions. Just a reminder that you have 2 minutes to respond to each question. This first question will go to Mr. McBurnett first. It has been almost a year since the City Council unanimously voted to establish the Charles F. Ladd Nature Preserve. Residents in the District 2 neighborhood of Swan Ridge, which is immediately adjacent to the preserve, were very vocal in their support of protecting the property as a public green space. In as specific terms as possible, what is your vision for the future of the Ladd Preserve, and what types of projects do you believe should be prioritized at the preserve?
Well, I'm glad that the thing's finally taken place and it is being, and it's become the Charles F. Ladd Nature Preserve. What I see out there, and basically it's turned over to the master naturalist, and it is to keep it as kind of a natural green space. There's some ways that we could help protect it more, and that's the basic thing. But it's just to basically keep its natural beauty, and allow people to enjoy and come out to do that. There might be some little trails or something else that's along it, but basically it's to preserve exactly what it is.
Thank you. Ms. Gutierrez?
Making sure that we're working together with organizations and passing, whatever it is that we need to do to work with, I know I've heard like the master naturalist, whoever it is, whoever those organizations are, to get this going, to get those trails going. I know there's a lot of residents here in District 2 that I've spoken to, and they want to get more involved and more engaged. So just going ahead and just getting that done, so that we can partner up with organizations and whoever we need to partner up to get this area going, cleaned, hiking trails, so it could just be like the best preserve that anybody's ever come to. So whatever it is that needs to happen, I will support it so we can get this thing going, and it could be the best preserve anybody's ever been to.
Okay. This next question is for Ms. Gutierrez first. Would you support any kind of buildings or structures on the Lad Preserve? If so, what kind and why?
From what I've heard, the people speak, they want nothing put on that property. So I've heard people speak on that, and I would not support anything being built on it for the simple fact that there's so many species there that have been already identified. They've done such a good job of going there and having their days where they go there to identify, even having families and children go out there and identify all the species. So they say do not touch it, then I'm going to agree with that. And the experts have said it too. It's beautiful just the way it is. Let's rely on the expertise of the professionals that have said, let's keep it the way it is, and not disturb any of the habitats. We have enough cement and everything around the city. Let's just not touch it.
Mr. McBurnett?
Thank you. The city of Duncanville has got a master plan that's going into this. There's quite a bit of money that's being given towards this master plan, and the master plan is going to kind of determine how and what's going to be, and the likelihood is it won't include buildings, and that's exactly how and where we should do, and it is where we rely on this. We get the community engagement and make a determination of what the Lad property, the Lad Nature Preserve is going to become.
Thank you. And that was our final question for the District 2 candidates. We will now hear the candidates' closing statement, starting with Mr. McBurnett. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. As the District 2 City Council member, I've done an outstanding job of reaching out to people. I've had people involved with things. I've been involved with the cleanups. I've been involved with Duncanville and what we've done. And I'm going to ask for people to continue to do that. And so, what I bring to the table is the experience and the knowledge, the forecasting ability, and a vision, which is going to make Duncanville continue to be a better place. And so therefore, I'm going to ask my District 2 neighbors and to continue to support me and ask for their vote provided for the proven leadership of Duncanville. Thank you.
And now, Ms. Gutierrez, your closing statements.
Yes, I just am a lover of education and engagement. I didn't mention, but I'm also Spanish speaking. So there is a huge percentage of our district, of our city that needs to be reached. And I would love to engage with not only English speaking, but also Spanish speaking. And I've even ran into some people that are hearing impaired. So they need to be also engaged. So I want to make sure that I engage everyone so that they can know what their options are, how beautiful our city is, what do we have here to offer, and how can they volunteer and be a part. And because the moment we take ownership of where we live and not just come here, sleep and go back to work, go back to another city, no, to actually come here, engage, participate. And with that means they need to be informed, reaching not just adults, but reaching our senior citizens that might want to be a part of it, reach our youth, going to schools, making sure that do they have the curriculum to teach them about not just local government and how policies will affect and impact their homes, but also affect nature and the environment. I just ask for your vote because I love to serve at the core. That's who I am. I love to serve. I love to meet people. And I think this is truly can be something that could be so good and bring us together. Duncanville has everything that we possibly have, but we need to be forward thinking. And I think we're an awesome city. Thank you.
Thank you both for participating in this discussion. We wish you both the best of luck during this election. Before we move on to the mayoral candidates, a quick word from Jim Jones, president of the Duncanville Nature Conservancy.
And hello, folks. It's time for a break. It's not going to be a long break. It's not an intermission, but it's a good time for a public awareness announcement. So the LADFest 2024. If you haven't heard about the LADFest 2024, you're about to. The Duncanville Nature Conservancy would like to invite you to join the celebration of the newly created Charles F. Ladd Nature Preserve as a celebration, and people they really would like to celebrate the Charles F. Ladd Nature Preserve. Get an update, find out what's happening, and a fundraiser for the Charles F. Ladd Nature Preserve. The landowner, Bob Ladd, said his family always knew that the Ladd property was one of the most beautiful pieces of property in the city of Duncanville, and they always wanted to preserve it for the generations. At the Ladd Fest, we're going to have speakers that include Sherry Capehart of the Sherry Capehart Nature Preserve, the Texas Parks and Wildlife, the Scouts, Village Tech, Master Naturalists. Doug Finch, Duncanville City Manager, is going to come out and let us know what's happening and what's being planned at this point. And we're going to end with a Hawk and Falcon demonstration from the Blackland Prairie Raptor Center. It's going to be great, and donations are going to be welcome. Your tax-deductible donation will be contributed to Scout, school, and other volunteer projects at the preserve, support, outreach, and community awareness. Your donation will help us achieve these goals and help us build and sustain a world-class nature preserve in our community. And especially, all the donations made at the LADFest 2024 will be doubled through a matching grant. Please let us know if you have any questions. See dncinc.org for more information.
And now we would like to welcome the two candidates for Mayor of the City of Duncanville, Councilman Greg Contreras and former City Councilman Mark Cooks. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Mr. Contreras, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Good evening, and thank you to the Conservancy for having this forum, and I want to thank Ms. Macias for performing as a moderator. I've enjoyed listening to all the guests today. My history with Duncanville started 43 years ago when we moved. My wife and I moved here. There was 1 year where we lived in the woods, so we officially lived in Dallas, but we quickly moved across the highway, across Clark Road, and got into Duncanville, where we proceeded to raise a family of three. All three of my children went through the Duncanville school system, starting at Fair Meadows Elementary. There was a little divide in opinions of my kids on whether to go to Reed or Byrd, so there was a little split there. They all didn't follow the same paths, but I love both schools. And eventually they all graduated from Duncanville High School and went on to college. So we were really blessed to be placed in an environment where the culture in the community was such that everything we wanted in a place to raise a family, we had here in Duncanville. Absolutely had it, and wouldn't have changed anything at all. I went to work for the city of Duncanville in 1990 as a building inspector. I had been a private contractor prior to that, and thought I'd give a try on the other side of giving out red tags instead of getting them. I excelled at that. Had a skill set I didn't know that I possessed, but within 5 years I became the building official for the city of Duncanville. I oversaw the building inspection department, code enforcement department, and I created the first in-house health department in the city of Duncanville. Prior to that, we were using private contractors to do the work, and I was able, with the city manager position, to go out and find a licensed health inspector and begin the program, which has been successful ever since. I also, during my time as a building official, I was on the state plumbing board. So I actually called the State Board of Plumbing Examiners. I was appointed by the governor's office to serve. And in my 4th year down there, I was the chairperson for that board. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I learned a lot of valuable things about that level of government that really helped me in working with my local government. And I appreciate all my.
Okay. Mr. Contreras, thank you. Now we will hear from Mark Cooks.
Well, good evening, everyone, and to the 37 people that's listening from the city of Duncanville, to Sarah, and to the DNC. I am Mark D. Cooks, former city council member for the great city of Duncanville. I bring to you a unique set of skills where I have worked in the financial industry for over 40 plus years. I have lived in the city of Duncanville for 18 years. I'll go a different direction and tell you that I enjoy things outdoors, such as golf, hiking, cycling. My experience in the community has been in the arts, has been in cycling, has been in grants. I do know how the DNC felt when you approach our city council to ask about doing something different than we normally would do. I experienced that same challenge even as a council member when we talked about expanding the bike lanes. And because of that, and that expansion, it opened us up for opportunities with the government to receive grants if when it was available. I also hosted a Pink Diamonds bike ride where we raised over $8,000 in the cycling event. If you look at the parks, I mean, switch to our parks for just a second. All of the workout equipment that you now see in the parks came from an opportunity where I expanded outside of Duncanville and noticed that we needed additional things in our parks. And because of that, Tyburn Park was the first park in Duncanville to receive workout equipment. And because of that budgeted item that I asked to be included, my fellow council members agreed, and we all put workout equipment in our Tyburn Park. But because of that success, we then moved, and the remainder of the city now have workout equipment because it started with Tyburn Park, thinking outside of the box. My minute has concluded, and I'll talk more later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cooks. Mr. Contreras, the first question is for you. And remember, you only have 2 minutes to respond. In 2018, the citizens of Duncanville approved nearly $22 million in bond money for various city projects. Included in that amount was $1.5 million for on-street and off-street trails throughout the city. As of today, none of the funding designated for trails has actually funded a trails project. Is there a specific project you believe that funding for trails should go toward, and why do you believe that project would be the best use of the trails fund?
I came on board the city of Duncanville City Council. The bike lane project at Daniel Dale and 67 had already been approved and started. That was my first foray into understanding where our city was going and where the previous council had decided to go with bike trails and bike lanes. And I believe the entry into the discussion of a master bike and hike trail plans throughout the city of Duncanville, interconnecting with Cedar Hill, DeSoto, and the city of Dallas. Since I came on in the midst of that project going on, and I saw what didn't appear to be a smooth going with that particular project, I started to realize that more focus maybe needed to be paid attention to a master plan and get us on the track of what the citizens wanted and not necessarily what we came up with at Daniel Dale and 67, because I still look at that project and wonder if it's ever going to meet its full potential. It's a long ways to get to Clark Road, and I'm not sure there's any guarantees built in to help that. But as far as an overall plan for bike and hiking trails, I couldn't be more supportive. I think that it is what the new citizens of Duncanville today, the younger citizens of Duncanville today want. They love our parks, they love our green spaces, but that's part of what I'm hearing so often from the younger people that are coming into our community. So I do support that.
Mr. Cooks?
Yes, thank you. As I mentioned before with the bike lanes, it is, I think, outside of the box. And it's not just the bike lanes, but it's the walkable piece that connects the connectivity that connects us to the DNC, the nature preserve. It connected us to other cities. And because of that bike lane that started there on Daniel, it opened up opportunity for the federal government to say, we will match funds for you. And that's in relationships. And doing those relationships, they will match funds to connect us to the solar in Cedar Hill. But they wasn't going to match that until after we develop ourselves an opportunity for bike lanes and walkable sidewalks. I love that because it connects to the preserve. When you connect that to the preserve, you also connect opportunity to host other things. There are many cycling events that is connected to the preserve that can be connected to the preserve, but it simply starts with the bike lane. Many are challenged to say, I don't see anyone on the streets on the bike lane. Well, most of the time, most cyclists will probably up and complete before many of us are in our cars moving around. That's safe cycling. Not only of that, as I talked about the Pink Diamond Breast Cancer Bike Ride, my plans is to connect that cycling event also to the preserve, where we can connect and meet up with our cycling and the preserve together. And what a great event it could draw if we put those two events together. We brought over 175 riders from around outside of Dallas, outside of Fort Worth, as far as Rockwall, to the great city of Duncanville. And think about this. Think if we bring that same approach to the preserve and cycling together and explore what a beauty we have in Duncanville. I'll close with saying one of the cyclists outside of the Duncanville told to me they did not realize how beautiful, how hilly Duncanville is until they got here.
Thank you. This next question goes to Mr. Cooks first. Would you support the creation of a linear trail along 10 Mile Creek connecting the Ladd Preserve to Harrington Park? Why or why not?
Wow, yes, I would. As I mentioned before, I'm not just saying that I would support it. I'm telling you that as being a hiker, as being an outdoor person, that connectivity would be wonderful. Not only is it great for just hiking, but it's great for the wellness of our city. If we get more people outside, we get more people walking, and we connect those things, you can walk to one place to the other safely. What a beautiful thing to be. People actually will move to our city, and because of the wellness that we can also offer in our city. So yes, let's get that started. Where there's no vision, people perish. And I have a vision to make that happen, to work along with the DNC and with others where we can continue to move forward.
Mr. Contreras?
Well, this was a discussion that was first brought to my attention in a one-on-one discussion with our former Economic Development Director, Gus Garcia. And he posed this this idea of a trail system that would follow the creek from the preserve area all the way through to Harrington Park. Absolutely, I would agree that that would be a great opportunity for the citizens of Duncanville to travel in an environment and in a way that they normally wouldn't be able to. I think the things they'd experience are the things we've been talking about a lot today, which is nature and the sights. The complexity with it shouldn't be a hindrance to discussions about it, but it's going to take a deep study and an engineering study at that to, we have some problems along those creek areas with erosion. And so it has to be looked at very closely from an engineering standpoint and a cost standpoint to make it compatible for those types of trails. I wouldn't say for a minute that it can't be done, but there's a lot of work to get there. And the other part of this would be talking to the people who would be in close proximity on their properties and their backyards, and have them understand that at certain times of the day, they would have traffic that they've not previously experienced. And that'd be foot traffic, bike traffic, just hikers in general. But that may be something that we need to discuss with those folks, along with the discussion of the engineering study and an overall view of what that hiking trail and bike trail may look like. It's complicated. It can be done, and I think that this is what our new people in Duncanville are looking for.
Okay, and we have a rebuttal from Mr. Cooks.
Yes, thank you. You know, I tend to say that it's not complicated. I tend to tell you that our public works director needs to be an engineer and an architect. Right now, for the last 2 years, we've not had a public work director that has an engineering background. When you connect those two things together, with an engineer with public work, then it gives us a better plan. I had an opportunity to sit down with Mr. Garcia when he was here as EDC director. And I've not spoken with him since he left. But what I will tell you, that I would challenge you to ask Mr. Garcia or call Mr. Garcia and ask which person has provided him more feedback, more directions in order to help move the city forward when you talked about connectability, whether it's trails or whether it's a walkable piece from city to city.
All right, this next question will go to Mr. Contreras first. Aging infrastructure is one of multiple factors that contributes to the city of Duncanville losing hundreds of thousands of gallons of water a year. Some estimates suggest the amount of water loss is costing taxpayers several $million annually. What ideas, plans, or proposals do you have for addressing the issue of water loss and promoting water conservation in the city of Duncanville?
Well, that is a subject that was brought up a while back at a council meeting. The disclosure of the amount of water exceeded that in any previous years. So no one's taken that lightly, that amount of water lost has to take a deep dive into hiring the right people to come out and look for those areas where we may be having failing water lines. That it doesn't necessarily show itself, but there's ways to detect and identify those locations. Having worked in the Public Works Department for my entire career, I'm intimately aware of the means and methods that it takes to find those types of problems and leaks. And we need to get the right people in place. Those are going to be private engineers and contractors again that come in, they do an assessment. And equally important is when we identify a leak. And while I've been out campaigning, I've run into several areas that neighbors have told me have leaked. There's been a leak at a water meter for up to 2 months or so. When that comes to the attention to government, we have to act on that. If we're going to recognize that the loss of water at record rates is critical for us to get under control, we need to respond quickly to known water leaks. It's going to be difficult to find the underground water leaks that we don't know about, but we certainly got to respond quickly because that is a significant contributor to the lost water that you referred to.
Thank you. Mr. Cooks?
Yes, you know, water loss is so important to me as well. It's even as I sit here talking to you tonight, just right in front of my home, there is a big square cutout because there was a water leak and on the city property in our streets. And unfortunately, while that is there, it went on for a little bit. And I had to give it an opportunity to be repaired, but at the same time, reaching back out to our city manager asking for help to get that repaired. What I would say to us as well, as a citizen and as a visionary and as a leader, is that it's our citizens could help us by reporting those, but we still have code enforcement. We still have citizens on patrol. We have other people driving through our city. And as they see those things and identify that as a water leak, it is very simple for them to also turn that in and put a timeline on how long would it take to get that repaired? What's a correct time? Is it 2 months? Is it a month? Is it 2 weeks? What's reasonable? But I would challenge the city manager to tell me, to give me specifics on how long should it take to get the water repaired in any one street, whether it's front of my house or whether it's front of your house, in order for us to reduce that water loss. With the experience that we have on the council in municipal government, I'm used to working in corporate America, and corporate America, we move just a little bit faster than we would in municipal government. So what that tells me is I would bring to the council a little bit stronger opportunity to say, how do I merge my timeline with municipal government and with corporate America to come up with a reasonable time to get things accomplished? And if that is not accomplished, then give me a work plan on when that will be accomplished and hold our city manager accountable when that needs to be completed. Thank you.
And we have a rebuttal from Mr. Contreras.
Oh, I just want to mention that after hearing the report from the city manager about our record loss of water, I became aware of a water leak that I referred to that had been known by the city to have existed for 2 months. I saw water utilities truck out there about a month earlier, and I thought they had maybe worked on a problem. I couldn't really see what the situation was from my house, but I could see the truck out there. Thought the problem had been resolved until 3 citizens approached me at different times and asked me when it was going to get finished. The report I got back from the city manager was, one, he was unaware of it. So I think we need to have our water utilities people make sure that when they identify a problem that they pass it on to the city manager so we can get it resolved more quickly. Now, I saw you holding up, and I see I have 1 minute and 3 seconds.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Our prompter
Okay.
was giving out, so I was letting him know.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I say that to say that when we identify a water leak and we discover that we don't have the resources to get out there and repair it, I get that. I understand that. We are shorthanded in the Public Works Department, and it may take a little longer, or maybe we lack a piece of equipment. But once I brought it to his attention, he quickly responded, and within 2 weeks they were out there. It was a combination of our city crews and some private contractors, and they got that problem fixed. The only thing they have left on it is to repair the rut in the street from the cut they made, but that's being taken care of right now. But it is up to each one of us to report immediately those water leaks, and then the city should respond quickly. And our on the street people need to be informing city management when they find one of these, so he can keep on track with it. Thank you.
This next question goes to Mr. Cooks first. Many of the city's neighborhoods were built adjacent to creeks. Now, after decades of erosion and failed retaining walls, many of these residential and commercial properties are experiencing flooding, compromised foundations, slab leaks, and other issues that are the result of poor or inadequate erosion control. What responsibilities does the city of Duncanville have toward assisting property owners mitigate erosion along creeks? Do you have any other thoughts, ideas, or proposals regarding the issues of erosion and erosion control?
Thank you for asking the question. I will tell you that there's nothing new under the sun. So what that really means is that in Duncanville, we're not the only one who have experienced that before. So I would first seek our professional staff to ask those types of questions with that being their background on how we resolve that. If while asking that same question, I would also do my homework and in partnership I have with others to seek out ways to resolve that as well. Is it citizens or is it the city? That is something that we would have to look at altogether to find out, who pays for that. And many times we will find that the bag opportunity, putting bags there will resolve that, and that's the city opportunity. But then there's also some when it comes to our homeowners. And so really, every case is unique in itself. And I would suggest that we will call our professionals out and look at that particular project and see where the responsibility lies.
Mr. Contreras?
Yes, thank you for the question. We do have a bag wall program in the city of Duncanville. It's not been managed as well as it has been in the past, but it comes at a shared cost between the city and the resident that lives on that property that may be having some erosion problems. It makes it a challenge for people because while it's a budget issue for us, it's hard for people to come up with $10, $15, $20,000 or more that they have to contribute in the cooperation or participation in that bag wall program. So it's something we have to look at, and I've talked to the city manager and some other council members about going to cities where we have known, where they have known histories of creek erosion. Indian Creek area up in Carrollton, Lancaster has quite a bit of heavy creek drainage that causes a lot of erosion. Go to cities that maybe have some new ideas. Maybe bag walls are a thing of the past. Maybe there's something less expensive, a technology that will help. The sad thing about water, losing your land to a creek failure is you can't get it back. When your backyard is cut in half, where that bag wall is going to go in is right where it is today. So we need to address this to save property owners from losing their property value in significant ways. And we know the areas where they're most prone to have it along 10 Mile Creek. And of course, behind Swan Ridge recently, they had to do some extensive repairs. But we got to find a way to afford it because right now it's not affordable.
Thank you. We have a rebuttal from Mr. Cooks.
Yes, I will tell you that the back wall program is not currently being funded. The city council city council should find ways to fund that program. And I know, again, we talked about policy and we talked about budget. Those two things go hand in hand, policy and budget. And until we find a way to figure out how do we take care of that, it'll just simply be something we continue to talk about and talk about. With the experience that I bring to the table, I bring a management experience to the table where I have managed for over 30 years of people. And being able to manage our city manager, who in turn would manage our staff, those are things that we could talk about in a retreat. Those are things that we could talk about on our plans to figure out where we are and where do we go from here. It's all about management and planning.
Okay. This next question goes to Mr. Contreras first. According to Texas A&M, 4.4 million Texans participate in wildlife watching activity. The Cedar Ridge Preserve in Dallas receives 500,000 visitors a year. As more and more out-of-town visitors travel to the city of Duncanville to visit the Ladd Preserve, what kinds of economic development strategies can the city implement, and how can the city work with the business community in order to capitalize economically on this influx of visitors?
Well, first thing, if we look at our present situation, we don't have an economic development director, nor do we have an assistant economic development director. That happens in city life. We have to deal with that reality. It is critically important we get those positions filled because those are the people that are going to be able to answer those types of questions and meet with us and talk to us about the options that are available to accommodate the thousands of extra people that may be coming into our city, how to take advantage of those opportunities for them to come here, shop, stay in our hotels, whatever they may be doing. We need guidance from our city or from our economic development director to put a plan in place to recognize what that dollar number looks like to us and how to act on that. along with that naturally comes improvements in our city that are long overdue. So if you look at the two together, just like we look at the positioning of our city from a business standpoint, we're prime because of our location to Dallas, our access to I-20. There's so many things that could happen with the economic development director coming up with ideas to present to council and future councils. And we need to take advantage of that when it gets here. It's going to be a while before we get somebody on board, but those are the people that are going to be able to take the question that you've asked and help us understand what it's going to take to get to where we need to get with the new people that are showing up in Duncanville.
Mr. Cooks?
You know, if it's going to take a while for us to get those positions filled, what is that really telling us? That's telling us that that's further delay on our city moving forward. I bring to you, as I started, a very unique set of skills, not only in the financial services industry, but in the economic development piece. I've met with citizens, I've met with business owners, and I continue to do that. There are conferences out there that as a council member or as a mayor that we will participate in. Yes, we hire a city manager and an economic development person to bring to the table things that we can do in our city. But it is time out for us waiting to someone to bring something to us. I propose that as a mayor of the city, that I also bring things to our economic development director, our city manager, and I don't wait. I can't wait. We can't afford to keep waiting for us to hire with the large turnover we have for an economic development director to come. I will tell you that the opportunity with the trails that we're talking about now, as I think about the opportunity with the bike opportunity we're talking about, just now I'm just thinking, how do I connect? There's a couple set of bikes. There's street bikes and there are road bikes, and people just come right up to the nature preserve and they'll do cycling there as well. So I propose that we continue to connect our opportunity with our preserve and with other preserve and bringing other things into our city, because economic development, we cannot continue to wait until it happens. We must be more progressive in making sure that we bring to our city economic development and then work also with our city manager and economic development director. Thank you.
We have a rebuttal from Mr. Contreras.
Yeah, I want to be very clear that for all the viewers of this forum, that right now we are, and we have been, without for at least in some cases a year or more, in some cases 2 years. We've been without a public works director for over 2 years. Okay, I don't know why, but that's what happened at that time. We didn't try to fill that position. Now we're without a assistant public works director. We're without a economic director, economic development director. We're without an assistant economic development director. These projects, no matter how hard somebody may wish that we could hurry this up, they can't be hurried up. I've been in government for 30 years. It's unfortunate that these positions haven't been filled. They're working on it. But once these people get on board, they're going to take time to acclimate to Duncanville. I suppose they'll come with a skill set where that will happen quickly. But these problems that have been created by others are not going to be resolved overnight. There's no speeding this process up. I've worked in public works for 30 years, and I've worked in government for 30 years. I know how it operates, and in a case like this, which is highly unusual, most cities don't go through this. That's what we're going through. I could go through other positions that we're empty on as well, but these are the ones that relate to these projects being done and taking advantage of what we might have in the future. Thank you.
All right, we have a rebuttal from Mr. Cooks.
You know, as you think about, it is important and it won't happen overnight. But I will tell you that as we talk about this, if you ask, again, I said this statement and I didn't finish it. If you ask our former economic development director, Gus, call him and say, who has more economic development experience in this race? I'm just going to go on the limb and tell you that based upon my experience, based upon me talking in the past, that he would tell you that I bring more to the table on helping him and any other future economic development director to move our city forward. It is about partnerships. It is about relationships. And I, over the years, have built those, whether it's in municipal government, or whether it's in the corporate America, or whether it's in nonprofit organization. I have built those relationships, and it takes those relationships that help us move forward. The reason we are in a box or we are landlocked is because our forefathers didn't decided that's all we wanted to be. But I tell you that though we're landlocked, I'm not mind locked. And I tell you what, I tend to paint inside the box and outside of the box when it's time.
Thank you. The next question will go to Mr. Cooks first, and this is regarding litter. Please share your thoughts on litter in Duncanville. What kinds of policies might be implemented or what policies can be improved that would lead to a cleaner city?
Great question. I will tell you again, policy and budget, right? That's the hat I wear in the financial services, policy and budget. And I think one of the things, we are on the right track. I think we go back and use what others have used before and having adopt a street, adopt a neighborhood. But at the same time, I love it when we have a trash can somewhere where people can put those trash things in where you won't have to litter. Some's gonna do it on their own, some naturally, you can't change some. But for those that are willing to work to keep our city clean, it's going to take each one of us. And I participated in Keep Duncanville Beautiful. I participated in my own neighborhood. I participated in asking neighbors, how do we work together to keep a cleaner neighborhood and a cleaner city? It is not up to just your elected officials. It is up to each and every one of us in the city of Duncanville to enforce it and to say to ourselves, we will not allow our city to be an unclean city. And so join a board, join Keep Duncanville Beautiful. And with those things, we can have the beautiful city that we know we want to have because we're all participating in this together.
Thank you. Mr. Contreras? Oh, we can't hear you.
I dealt with, in my code enforcement capacity for 30 years with litter issues. And what I discovered, and my inspectors all realize this too, is while we might all see from time to time somebody throwing a fast food bag out their window of their car, I can tell you with certainty the vast amount of litter that you see in parking lots and on streets comes from our own retail stores in Duncanville. And I can't say that they're doing anything intentionally wrong, but when you watch what happens in a grocery store parking lot with grocery carts and periodicals that are left in the grocery carts, the plastic bags that oftentimes when they transfer their groceries to the car, they don't use the bags, they leave them in there. And those bags will all you have to do is sit at Tom Thumb and look in the northeast corner at a certain time of the day if there's wind, and you'll see that trash just cycling around in the corner. You go to Kroger's, you're going to see the same thing. If you go down on the I-20 fence on Duncanville Road, and look at the trash when the wind's coming out of the south that's collected on that fence, you're going to find a lot of it comes from the retail stores. So what do? You go to the retail stores, you start to try to change their habits about how they leave things in the carts out there. Discourage them from putting those periodicals in the carts. There's lots of things that you can do to be creative, and they do respond, by the way. They do respond. They recognize they're part of the problem. But I guarantee you, most of the litter that we see, unfortunately, is being generated in that manner. It doesn't mean that I'm opposed to the people that throw those fast food bags out. I don't like that. But we have to get creative and work hard with our business owners to make them recognize that they can do something to help that problem.
Thank you. We have 2 questions left, and just a reminder, 2 minutes for the response. This question will go first to Mr. Contreras. What methods would you suggest for educating the public on environmental stewardship?
Well, from the city standpoint, I think, for example, if you look at what's happened at the Lad Preserve, they'll have educational opportunities for people to come out there, perhaps classrooms of children that can come out and they can learn about the impact of how to beautify their cities, of how to partake in the naturalness of our parks and our just being outdoors and I'm constantly reading. I read recently an article about they're planting trees in East Texas, and if I wouldn't have read that article, I would have never understood how deforested the East Texas piney woods have become over the last 20 years, whether it's the result of global warming or fire, drought, insect infestation. But I read that on my own. Those articles and those types of things are everywhere. And I think that I would highly recommend that citizens look for those opportunities to educate themselves. But there will be people that will eventually be out at the Lad Preserve talking to groups of people, talking to them about conservation and about the value of green spaces. And it's the best way. Education is the best way that I think people are going to understand, and it will be the most impactful way in our future for the younger people coming up to do the things that maybe we didn't do so well and improve our environment that way.
Mr. Cooks?
Meet, connect, and learn. Meet, connect, and learn. As city council member in District 4, I conducted every month a meet, connect, and learn to inside of District 4 and whoever wanted to attend outside of District 4. I would meet at Luby's and I would invite people out to come and meet with us and just talk about what's going on in the city. COVID came, I changed that to Zoom, still meet, connect, and learn. And so the education comes from us meet, connect, and learn. As the next mayor, what I would do is instead of our monthly meet, connect, and learn, allowing our city council members to do their own meetings, I would host town hall meetings, at least 2 town hall meetings. And whether you're coming in person or whether we're calling and you're doing it over the phone with me, I would bring to the table asking partnerships and relationships that I've built to bring the information to our citizens, whether it's from the appraisal district or whether it's from Natural Preserve or bringing information to them. Either way, it's an educational piece, and the way we connect, we get better when we meet, connect, and learn of how to move forward. We tend to move a little bit better, or we tend to know more. If I know more, I'll do more. And so with that opportunity, with the educational piece, whether I'm in a school speaking, whether I'm speaking to HOA organizations, It's all about how do we educate our citizens, or how do we inform our citizens? And it has been proven that my Meet, Connect, and Learn that was consistent for 2 years worked for our citizens.
The final question goes to Mr. Cooks first. If given the option, would you support transitioning the city from bags to rolling carts for waste collection? Why or why not?
Ooh, that's a hard question, citizens, because you know why? You're right there in the middle. I hear half saying, I want it. I hear the other half saying, I don't want it. So here's what I think. I mean, as we think about this, let's think about this for a second together. How do I finally make the final call? We have to make the final call as a mayor. I have to make my one vote. And so what I propose doing first, on the bags or the cans, is I'll pilot one area of our city. See how well that works for our citizens. Give some input from that one district or for that one area, and see how well that works. And then have more town halls and say, what's your objective? I would bring Republic Services in to give us the pros and the cons, and ask, what do we really like to do? Because our city is really divided on that issue. I understand that our seniors, who I really love our seniors and want to make sure that they're taken well care of, they're not seen pushing that cart down to the street. So at the same time, I understand others who said, I don't want a bag because I don't want animals getting into the trash, which that means we putting it out a little too early. But we're saying to you, which one is the right thing to do? So I would have to propose that to our citizens and let our citizens decide, based upon their feedback of what's best for us. But I will start it out with a pilot to see how well it works for any one of our areas.
Mr. Contreras? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. We've had this discussion before, and it is a split issue. And partially because of I believe partially because of the difference in the geographical layout of our housing throughout the city. Many areas, it would probably be very compatible to be able to pull up on a flat street with a flat driveway where people can easily roll those carts out. But when you get into a neighborhood in District 5, like the Redbird area, you have very steep driveways going up or going down. We have, I think we have a high amount of seniors retired that the challenge for them to get those carts up and down, even with the promise from Republic Services that some of those people can be accommodated by the help of the drivers. I'm not sure they've proven to us that that has worked in other communities. So it's important for us to know that no one's going to get stuck if we went that route. I understand the benefits. I understand the cost savings of having such a service. It's more convenient for the company to do it, but that translates to maybe cost savings for us. But we have to look at our unusual setting here in Duncanville and really go back to the public and have a conversation with them and see from all the different areas in the city what their opinion is today. May be different than what it was 3 or 4 years ago when they did the last survey. But it's important, once again, to always engage the public and get their response back, because all of them may have different situations that we need to hear.
Mr. Cooks, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you. Well, first of all, let me again thank DNC and Sarah. Thank you for being just a great moderator tonight, to tell you that this was very informative. This was a great opportunity for me to hear from the questions that our citizens has proposed tonight in this. But I was just very open to tell you that I'm a visionary. And again, I don't have a closed mind of what we can be one day. I want to prepare what I can do today to be ready for tomorrow. It's about partnerships. It's about relationships. And if we We can't be in a silo all by ourselves. And so I will tell you that in making those partnerships and relationships, whether I'm on the Arboretum Finance Committee or whether I'm at the Dallas Black Dance Theater Board of Directors meeting where I'm the artistic chair, I will tell you that hearing what our citizens have to say is so very important. And I will be here to listen. I'll be here to move forward with what is being promised to you. I will be very transparent to you, as I have been even as a city council person. I ask you for one thing, and that is elect Mayor Cooks as your next mayor of Duncanville. And let's work together and bring our citizen and bring our city together. The first part of our business that I would do in order to bring our city together is I would want to host a unity breakfast in the month of January that brings all segments of our community together for a mayor unity prayer breakfast. Because I'm a believer, and being a believer, what I really do is I lean for instructions through my prayer life, through my reading life, and I connect that to what our community is asking for. I'm a servant. I ask you to vote May 4th, Mark Cooks, for your next Duncanville mayor.
Mr. Contreras, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Yes, thank you. And thank you again for moderating, and thank you for the opportunity to have this forum. Thanks to the Duncanville Nature Conservancy for this opportunity. I think this was very well done tonight for all the people that participated, so thank you. I have a record in Duncanville of success, nothing but success. I was successful at all the programs I ran as a building official for 25 years. I was successful at a 2-year run as a unanimously selected interim city manager, followed by another year as an interim city manager. I didn't do that to be city manager because I wasn't a city manager, but I worked with all the department heads and all the employees. We didn't lose one employee during that tenure. We were successful rebuilding all of our relationships with the people around us, the school district, the city of Cedar Hill, the city of DeSoto, the Best Southwest, the Chamber of Commerce. That was my objective during that time. And thanks to great chiefs and directors, we were all successful together. But that was one of my proudest moments, having been able to be picked to do that and be successful at it. So my experience, my leadership, and my success, my proven leadership, has always been at the forefront of what I do. With the things we've been through in the last 3 years with this city, and recent revelation through a external audit showing us just how tough things were, all the new positions to be filled, a new city manager, I think I'm best suited with my background, my experience, and my institutional knowledge to work with the city manager and the council and provide them with the type of leadership that they need during this really comeback time for us. Very important.
Well, Mr. Contreras and Mr. Cooks, we thank you so much for taking the time to be with us on this forum tonight. We appreciate your time this evening and for sharing your thoughts on these critical issues. And with that, I will turn the meeting back over to the Conservancy President, Jim Jones.
And this concludes our candidate forum. We hope you think that it went well. Thank you to the candidates for your meaningful participation and to the audience for your attendance and questions. We're flattered by your attendance and candor. And many, many thanks, Sarah Macias. Your work is exceptional. Candidates, good luck in the election. Don't forget to vote. Early voting has started. It's commenced at the Duncanville Recreation Center. The election date is Saturday, May 4th. See you at the Lad Fest, April 30th at 6:30 at the Hopkins Center. And you can read and learn more about the Duncanville Nature Conservancy at the dncinc.org. Thanks and good evening.